Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. So the Alliance War season just wrapped up and it was the first season on this brand new and very difficult war map, but also the first season since I took my 7-star Ironheart up to rank 4. And you guys know that I am a huge fan of Ironheart, but even I was surprised at just how good she was for this new map. She was by far my most used attacker this season, and I would go so far as to say that she is a top 3 war attacker in her class. Now, as you may already be aware, I no longer upload individual war videos to the channel, but this season I wanted to collect several of my Ironheart fights, kind of drop them all into one big showcase. So I think I have 20 fights total to show you today across 15 or so different nodes, and I think about half of the defenders I'm going to show you today are also at rank 4, so it's not just me punching down the whole time. I'll probably organize them in node order, so stick around to the end so you can see some of the really good matchups. There's a 49 Photon in there, and also we'll finish up with an Onslaught boss. Let's go. Alright, starting off today on node number 2, we got a HAVOK here with Special Burst Neutralize, so every time he uses a special attack, he's going to put this passive Neutralize on you, and I think the idea behind putting him here is that the Neutralize is going to prevent armor up buffs, and thus you could potentially get caught without one and take a plasma detonation. However, Ironheart, among other tech champs, starts with that initial permanent armor up buff. He can't remove it, so you're really safe from the Neutralize here. In addition, he's got Combat Deja Vu Placebo, and then whenever your buffs expire, you're going to be giving him extra passive prowess, so if you do get tagged by a special attack, it's probably going to hurt. Ironheart has some of the best prowess removal in the game, so if I feel like it's getting a little too high, I can just parry and heavy him, and then we will remove a number of prowess effects equal to the number of damaging debuffs we have on him. So he can have up to 20 right now, and we can remove them all at once. Obviously using the Rupture pre-fight since he's Incinerate immune, but a very, very easy fight. A lot of willpower healing active as well from those plasma debuffs, and very, very quick. Alright, next up we have a Hit Monkey on node 4 with Calcify, which means that every time he uses a special attack, he's going to place these Petrify debuffs on you, so we did have to disable willpower for this fight. And then Steady Build Up Reverse Controls. Anytime you have 3 or more debuffs on you, your controls are going to be reversed. Ironheart very good for this, of course, because she has a hard counter to reverse controls in her kit once tracking is up with 5 or more debuffs, which are very easy to maintain on this fight. She is immune to reverse controls. So the Petrify debuffs aren't really going to be doing anything, and this is just more or less a straight Hitmonkey duel. He was uncooperative with the special 1, so we just blocked the special 2, and then we're going to sidestep into the special 2 here, and that is going to take him out. Very, very easy and fast fight for Ironheart. Alright, here we have another HAVOK, but on a different node. This is node 13. So the idea here is that you have a timer on him, and if you don't get 15 hits in your combo, by the time that timer goes off, then you get a severe unsteady debuff on you, which is going to cause all of your attacks to glance. And then you're going to be building up suppressions on yourself periodically unless you intercept. So the idea with Ironheart here is that although the glancing will prevent her from critting, against mutants the ability accuracy of her debuffs cannot be reduced. So even if we do get that unsteady debuff on us, our debuffs are still going to apply and we're still going to get that really nice damage over time on HAVOK here. And then we can just intercept as much as we want, finish off with another big special 2, and another very, very quick and easy fight. Alright, this one is kind of silly, but I'm including it anyway. I actually just did this fight like 15 minutes ago. This is the off-season. This was not a fight that I actually assigned myself during the season. This is Weapon X on Hazard Shift with Shock and Poison. Of course, Ironheart not immune to either of those debuff types. I did bring along an Odin. I just kind of wanted to see if this would work, only being immune, or resistant rather, to one debuff type. It actually worked out pretty good. So we are successfully kind of avoiding most of the damage during poison. We are kind of forced to hit into him during the poison phase a little bit, but the damage is fine, I guess. I'm not boosted in this fight either, so this would have been a lot faster if I had been, obviously. We managed to only take roughly 20% damage overall until the end of the fight, where I make a mistake and I actually push him unstoppable because I'm not paying attention to how many stacks of rage he has. But if he hadn't gotten unstoppable, we would finish this fight at a reasonable amount of health. So normally we send like an Ultron to this fight, or maybe somebody like an Omega Sentinel with an Odin can do this fight as well. But I gotta tell you, I am intrigued by the possibility of doing this next season. So we'll see what happens. Either way, not a particularly safe fight, but you know, it works, I guess, and that's kind of what the off season is for, right? All right, next up, we're up on Section 2, Path 1B. We've got a Bishop here on Node 19 with High Energy Diet, which is an interesting node because you don't really want to do energy damage to Bishop anyways. So I'm not really sure why he was placed here. Either way, we're going to be using our Rupture debuffs regardless. Now, I'm pretty much assuming at some point here that he is going to go unblockable from Reinvigorated. Basic attacks, I'm not really worried about. We can just avoid them while he's unblockable. If he happens to throw a special attack while he's unblockable, though, Ironheart is able to block unblockable specials from mutants, so we can just sit there and block. And he is going to go unblockable, as you can see, several times, especially if he backs up and holds block to trigger some of those regen buffs. That's going to trigger Reinvigorated pretty frequently here. So he goes unblockable here again. We're just going to straight up block this special 2, and then we can sidestep into a striker and finish him off that way. Alright, next up we're on Path 3B. We have a Node 21 Mr. Negative, and full disclosure, I'm only including this fight because this is actually a rank 4 Mr. Negative. There's nothing really going on here between him and the nodes. You do kind of have that like ever-present threat of encroaching stun to deal with, which is dangerous if you get caught without a special attack. And Mr. Negative does have, you know, some minor defensive threats in his kit. One of those things is Delirium, but again, we have a hard counter to reverse controls in our kit, so we can freely parry him and knock him down to convert his energy as much as we want. No worries there. And then we're trying to push him to the special 2 because it's much easier to dex, for me anyways. So again, rank 4 Mr. Negative, nothing really much going on here. This is more or less just a duel. As long as you pay attention to the encroaching stun timer, get through this fight without any difficulty. Alright, next up we have a Prowler on Node 23 with Ebb and Flow Intercept and Now You See Me. Ironheart, of course, counters miss, both from the Now You See Me node and from Prowler's kit as long as she has tracking up. However, you do kind of have to be aware of the Ebb and Flow Intercept node here, because when that passive Fury expires, as you'll see, she's going to lose all of her debuffs, and the tracking passive is going to go away here. So I do make one minor mistake. I don't think it costs me here. Right after he throws this special, I don't notice that my my debuffs have disappeared, and I do take a combo there. And then the falter from the node also triggers. But getting your debuffs back up with her is very, very easy, as you can see here. So we just went ahead and did a medium into the special 1, and now if we dex, we get 2 more debuffs on him, and now tracking is back up, and we can go back and keep doing our thing. You can probably get through this fight without intercepting at all if you choose. Either way, it's going to be fine. It is really nice having that passive Fury just from a damage standpoint, but if you choose not to intercept at all and just go straight utility with her, she can get through this fight pretty easily. I did intercept one more time, as you can see here, and I'm pretty confident I can get him down before the Fury expires, so one little mistake there, but otherwise still a very, very safe fight. Alright, this next one is the same node, but a different defender, obviously. Now with Wiccan, he doesn't have Falter built into his kit, but he has some different defensive threats. Namely, if you parry him, you get that Neutralize on you, and then when he causes your buffs to fail, he's going to place Incinerates on you. Ironheart, with her armor up buff, is immune to Incinerate, so we can freely parry him as much as we want, enjoy that free willpower healing, and even though he's going to gain a little bit of Mystic Dispersion power from causing our armor ups and our precision buffs to fail, we can manage that pretty easily throughout the fight. Also notice here that I'm using Ruptures because whenever he fires off his special 1, he gets that regen buff and he regenerates a portion of energy damage that he's taken throughout the fight. So you want to avoid doing energy damage to him as much as possible. Some of her basic attacks are energy damage, of course, but we have the ability to place, you know, physical damage over time effects on him, and that's just going to make the fight go a little bit faster here. Now I think I'm trying to go for an intercept here into the special 2. There we go. I lost a lot of my debuffs, but he has such a low health pool that we did a nice chunk of damage there, and 2 more basic attacks finish the fight. Alright, here we have another Prowler, this time on path 1B, the second node with Buffet over Time and Arc Overload. You might be aware that Ironheart isn't actually immune to Nullify, so we will be triggering Buffet whenever our Armor Up procs in this fight. Again, we want to keep tracking up just to counteract his Falter so that we can freely punish his special attacks. And then when it comes to the regen, both from Buffet and Arc Overload, we're just relying on the Despair Mastery to counteract most of it. And it's so easy with her to get enough debuffs up very quickly, very early in the fight to turn off all the regen from both of those regen nodes. So really the only danger in this fight comes from Reinvigorated, and I actually don't think he gets enough regen in this fight to actually go unblockable. And if he does, it's at like the very end of the fight. So again, really, like, you know, despite not being immune to Nullify, she doesn't really require her Armor Up to counter Prowler on this node. And one special 2, and we're moving on. Alright, here we have the first of more than a couple dust fights in this video. This is a dust on node 30. This is path 3B, the second node. So the idea here is that you need to be alternating all of your attacks, or you get a disintegration debuff on you, which deals damage over time and reduces your combat power rate. And there's currently no champ in the game who is immune to disintegration, and the node also has cold turkey, so you can't just bring somebody who's going to shrug that debuff off. And if that's not enough, she also has Safeguard, so you really need to rely on like damage over time or burst damage to finish the fight here. Ironheart, as she is for many dust fights, is a fantastic option here. Once she gets tracking up, she can easily parry dust and then just do light, medium, light, medium. From there, it's just like any other dust fight. Build up to your special 2 and destroy her. Alright, here's the same node, but with an EBONY MAW this time. Very similar approach here. We want to get tracking up as quickly as possible. You saw me dex at the start, then I did a medium, light, medium, and now I'm going to do another medium, light, medium just to get tracking up, and I am going to take one disintegration debuff on purpose. But again, I also knew that I was going to have to heal up anyways because he's going to use 2 special 1s in a row and probably give me some degen. So, you know, a little bit of disintegration on top of the degen I thought was safe. But again, once we have tracking up, we can freely parry him and then stick to light, medium, bait out whatever special we want from him. We do have to be a little bit worried about Mystic Dispersion here, but he doesn't really get too close to a special 3, so it's not really that big of a deal. Blocking that special 2, and again, just going parry, light, medium. We don't even have to worry about knocking him down, because if he gets the Falter on us, that's just some free willpower healing. We cannot miss with tracking up. So we'll definitely take that extra healing over trying to worry about heavying him periodically. And again, a very, very easy fight here on this node. She handles so many champions on this node. Just really, really good option for this path. Alright, here we have probably my least favorite fight on the war map. This node was left unchanged from the previous one. This is 4B Dust, second node here, with steady build-up, unblockable, painful retreat, and the heal block. So you really need somebody who can prevent the sand debuffs. And again, once Ironheart gets tracking up, she prevents stuff from triggering through her block. So not only can you freely parry her, you can also prevent the sand debuff from being triggering, and that ends up preventing her from going unblockable throughout the fight. So, you know, you're going to have the heal block debuff on you the whole time, and you'll have the occasional power sting on you, but unless she actually hits you, you will never get that third debuff on you, and thus you'll never actually have to deal with the unblockable, which is really nice. So the start of this fight, you want to use an advanced power boost, dex at the start, sidestep into your special 1, dex again to get your tracking up, and from there, it's easy game, easy life. Alright, moving on into the mini-boss portion of the video, we have this Dust on 40. This is probably the Dust fight that I was most concerned about this season. Has Obstinate Charge, so you can't parry her medium attacks. Mix Master, so you have to alternate your attacks or she's going to evade. And then has this new ticking Soul Bomb node, which means if you parry too much, you get this passive Soul Barb on you, and one of those is enough to kill you, especially with how many buffs Ironheart has. So I started this fight off pretty much the same way I started the previous fight, with the advanced power boost, getting tracking up right away. From here, you can actually safely reparry Dust. You will get those Soul Barb charges on you, those orange charges, but the Soul Barb itself will actually never trigger, so you can freely parry her here. So from here, it's really just a matter of reparrying and then doing light, medium to avoid Mixmaster. And again, pushing her to the special 2 because you're able to punish it, punishing with a medium, light, medium, and the damage over time ticks her down. Alright, next up we have a rank 4 Onslaught. Pretty much every Onslaught in Tier 1 these days is a rank 4. This one is up on the Node 41 mini with Scared Stiff, so you need to hit him periodically or you'll trigger a root on yourself. Power Focus 2, so you either need to know the dex for the special 2 or have some way of preventing the degen. And then Bubble Shield, which is problematic just because you're going to have to be baiting a lot of hits since you can't parry him in this fight. Now with Bubble Shield, Ironheart turns it off completely with tracking up, so we have one Bubble Shield charge on us. That is it for the rest of the fight. In addition, Ironheart can safely parry Onslaught on this and other nodes with tracking up. She will prevent the Daunted from triggering through her block, and she can parry his non-contact attack. So really, really good option for him on most nodes. Now with Power Focus 2, I am not good at the Special 2 deck, so if I need to push him to the Special 2, I'm just going to block the Special 2. And again, because Bubble Shield is off, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about the degens triggering through my block either. So I'm trying to keep a special loaded for whenever I get rooted, because the special attacks do take quite a while. But other than that, very, very safe fight for her, and the Ruptures finish him off. Alright, so we're going to move on to the same node, but a different defender. We have a Shocker here, also on node 41. Now the danger here with Shocker is that if he triggers the unblockable from Bubble Shield during his special 2, you are going to have that painfully long stun on you, and then you're probably going to die immediately. So in this fight, I'm intentionally pushing him to that special 2 because I'm not worried about Bubble Shield at all. And if we push him to his special 2, that means he's not throwing his special 1, which means he's not going to be gaining as many of those charges as he otherwise would be. In addition, when we're baiting out heavies from him like you just saw me do there, he is consuming all of his charges. So we really don't have to worry about the auto block in this fight at all. All of his charges stay well below the threshold of 50. We can safely block the special 2, and very, very easy fight with her on this node. Alright, next up we have the last Dust fight, I promise. This is a rank 4 Dust on the Node 42 mini, again with steady build of unblockable, so very similar to that 4B Dust that we talked about earlier. Also has one too many hits, so you do have to worry about the Power Sting. And then the big threat here is Power Snack. So I have no ability to prevent Power Snack. She is going to be eating my precision buffs, my armor buffs, so I do have to worry about managing her power level because I obviously don't want to push her to that special 3 if I can avoid it here. Now we are removing the Power Stings with 10 hits in our combo, so we do have to kind of focus as much as we can about clearing those before we use a special attack. You saw me take a little Power Sting damage there just to kind of keep the tempo going. Again, if I have to heal up a little bit in this fight, I'm not really too concerned about it. I'm more concerned about managing her power level than anything else. Once tracking is up, of course, we can safely stun her. We can parry her non-contact medium attacks. We can parry her light attacks if we want. Again, the power gain in this fight is really the only concern that you need to have. If you take a couple Power Stings, not the end of the world, but, just don't make it a habit, I guess. So, going to special 1 from a sidestep here, get tracking back up because we actually had lost debuffs there, added a couple more from a dex, and then one more combo will be enough to finish her off. So, again, Ironheart, probably the best Dust counter on almost any node on the map. Alright, this was probably my favorite fight from the season. This is a rank 4 Photon on node 48 with Safeguard, Stunning Reflection, Bane, and Force of Will. Now with Force of Will in play, you cannot use tracking to turn off Stunning Reflection, and we don't have bleeds or shocks, so we cannot parry at all in this fight. With Safeguard, that means that our main source of damage is going to be from the Rupture debuffs, and I kind of went back and forth between Ruptures and Incinerates. Photon does have energy resistance, so that's why I went with the Ruptures. I think you'd have similar success with the Incinerates. So the main focus in this fight is, again, not parrying. Focus on good transfers of Bane because that damage will really add up if you let it. And then you have to watch out for her pure light form, of course. Make sure that if you push her into pure light form, you are ready to counter that special one. And of course, under no circumstances should you ever push her to 2 bars of power while she's in pure light form. Otherwise, you're going to have a really, really bad time. You notice I have an unstoppable after special attacks. That's from the Shuri synergy. That is helpful here, not necessary. I just happen to have it because I had Shuri for a previous fight on the path. But yeah, Ironheart just so good for this. We've been sending Okoye, we've sent Werewolf a few times, but I would take this fight any other time with Ironheart. Alright, switching over to the other side of Boss Island now, we have a Prowler here, rank 4 Prowler on node 49, also with Stunning Reflection, 2 different debuff types here, Polka Dot Power, so the only way you're going to get specials is by applying a dot effect, and then Brute Force. Now, since there's no Force of Will on this node, you can safely parry him while tracking is active. It actually won't stun him, but the stun will not be reflected to you. It'll just kind of do nothing. Now, Polka Dot Power means that you only will have special attacks if you're applying those damage over time effects. Ironheart, of course, has plenty of access to damage over time. And more importantly, she has access to a damage over time effect that Prowler is not immune to. He's immune to Incinerate, which is half of Stunning Reflection, and then immune to Bleed as well. So somebody with Poison, somebody with Rupture is going to do really well here. In addition, we talked about this a couple times earlier, with tracking up she cannot miss, so you can keep tempo very easily in this fight by punishing his special attacks. That is kind of the danger here. If you don't bring a miss counter, then you risk triggering Brute Force too many times while you wait out the Falter on his special attacks. So a little bit dangerous there. One big special 2 finishes him off. Alright, sticking with node 49, we have a rank 4 Bullseye here, and you notice I actually forgot to turn off my Ouchie Masteries from Arena Grinding, so this gets a little bit dicey towards the end because you want to be spamming specials in order to keep the debuffs up on him, but you're losing a lot of health, obviously, from recoil here. So with Bullseye, again, really important that you can turn off Stunning Reflection. We do have access to Incinerates here, so we can safely parry him here and there. And if the Stunning Reflection node is not on cooldown, the parry won't work, but we won't get stun reflected, kind of the same as the previous node here. So again, the key here is just to stick to a lot of mediums, and then when he has Killer Instinct active, you want to either wait it out or use a special attack that you have saved ideally in order to stave off the Brute Force damage. You can see the Brute Force does tick for quite a bit. That's why you want to keep like a special one locked and loaded for afterwards, because that Killer Instinct stays around for a few seconds. So even with ouchies and recoil, we still get this fight done really quickly. Very safe to do if you don't mess up your masteries like I did. And then last but certainly not least, we have a rank 4 Onslaught on the boss node that we'll be taking out with Ironheart. Now, a big change to the boss node with this war map this season is that they've added an energized node. So it's a 50% energized passive, and that ends up meaning you either need to be comfortable with his special 2 decks and punish, or you need to be baiting out a lot more special ones because it's going to take fewer hits for you to get him up to those special attacks. So we're basically playing this more or less straight up. It's essentially like a duel with just some increased combat power rate. Using Ruptures, of course, because you don't want to incinerate him at all. That's where the bulk of our damage is going to come from. With the adaptive node in play, eventually our damage is going to start to decrease because those physical resistance passives are going to affect the Rupture debuffs. Now, I do recall in this fight that Onslaught was being very uncooperative, so we don't get our debuff count as high as we normally do against him, because I distinctly remember just having to wait like a few extra seconds more than normal in order to bait special ones. So like right here, for example, he's just not cooperative, our debuffs are expiring, it's very annoying. You also notice that I have a couple of the War Machine pre-fights on me. I have the one for Fortify, which increases your energy resistance, very helpful here, and then I have the one that increases your debuff duration other than stun, also very helpful here. Neither of those are required. Pushed into Special 2, we can safely block it here because we have tracking up. The most important thing that I kept telling myself in this fight was to manage his crush. That is the most dangerous part about fighting Onslaught with Ironheart, especially if you push him up to the Special 2 and he has a crush ready. That will plow right through your block, even with tracking up. and then you're going to be degenning and you're probably going to be dead. But again, like, you know, we've taken very little damage. The War Machine pre-fights helped, not necessary, of course, for this. And this is roughly like a 2-minute fight. Plenty of other good champs for this as well, but Ironheart gets it done with ease. Folks, that's going to do it for the Ironheart War Showcase. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Maybe something you saw here caught your attention, surprised you a bit. Her utility is just otherworldly, and her damage pretty decent as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.